YouTube, what is going on? We are back with another Wuthering Waves video. And I wanted to go over something really quickly. With the upcoming release of Phoebe, we know that she is going to be a spectral rectifier user. This is 1000% based off a tinfoil hat. And also just kind of my own thought process, right? I think that this is the first. I think Phoebe's going to be a DPS. And the reason why I think she's going to be DPS, it's pretty clear that she's going to be utilizing Spectral Frazzle. If we go based off of the buffs in the TOA currently, right? They always cater towards the next upcoming character. That's a safe bet. There's nothing about that that's like leakish or outlandish or whatever, right? So we know she's going to be Spectral Frazzle, pretty much just straight up, right? So here, I'll show you the buffs real quick, just so in case you don't believe me. We literally have it right here, where it says it's giving a Spectral Res buff, and we know she's Spectral. She's not Electroc, obviously. Hitting a target with Resonance Liberation applies one stack of Spectral Frazzle. The effect can be triggered once per second. For every stack of Spectral Frazzle inflicted, the target takes 5% extra damage. So in combination with this, along with the new artifact set, it's pretty safe to say she'll be a Spectral Frazzle DPS. Now the question is, will this Powercreep Jinhsi? This is the first time we are getting two DPSs of the same. Let me rephrase that. Two limited DPSs of the same exact element. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not think this is going to Powercreep Jinhsi in the slightest. I think they're both going to fill completely different roles. And Glaive actually made a video about this previously that I want to touch on some of his points as well. So when you look at Jinhsi, there's quite a few things. Jinhsi is a Claymore user who pretty much a lot of her stuff scales with resonance skill damage, right? So a lot of it is considered resonance skill damage, and resonance skills replace blah, 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 you know, incandescence, it counts as resonance skill. And so what happens is that she needs coordinated attacks. If you are not using a coordinated attacker like Gigi, like Yinlin, like Verena, a Baiji, a Yanwu, Mortefi, you're really not getting the most out of her kit. If anything, she's kind of mid, right? She needs these coordinated strikes to build up her incandescence. Why is incandescence so important? If we go to the multipliers, she literally gets 44.54 additional multiplier per incandescence, which the max amount I believe is like what, 50? I think it is. Yeah, up to 50 incandescence, right? So she has a very specific niche down play style, a very, very, very specific Claymore Spectro user that needs coordinated attacks in order to function and get the full amount out of her kit, right? Now, let's just say Phoebe is the opposite. Phoebe is a Resonance Liberation buffer. I don't know, by the way. I don't know. I don't look at the leaks. I haven't looked at them. But I'm just saying, let's say they're Resonance Liberation. They could be basic attack. They could be heavy attack. They could literally be anything. The good thing about the way Wuthering Waves has this set up is that it's really not going to Power Creeper because it's going to be a completely different playstyle, right? If Phoebe is going to buff, or excuse me, not buff, how do I say this? If her damage is going to be considered something that's not resonance skill, and she's also using a completely different artifact set. This is the artifact set that Jinhsi's using. Phoebe's going to be using the new artifact set, which is going to be this one right here, Eternal Radiance. Which is going to give you the crit rate and the Spectral Frazzle. They're apples and oranges. There's nothing to really compare. This will not be a situation like Genshin, where you have Hu Tao was a fire DPS. Then Arlecchino is a new fire DPS that replaces Hu Tao's role and actually adds to it. And then Mavica comes out, and that's another fire DPS. I don't think it's going to be a one-to-one like that. And honestly, based off of how I think it's going to go, I think she's just going to be tied with Spectra Rover. I'm sure, like, depending on what her amplification is, like, let's say maybe, for example, I'm just making up something. She's a basic attack. You know, a lot of her stuff scales a basic attack. Maybe Roshia could be good, or like Sanhua could potentially be good, right? Because of the basic attack amplification. But I don't think they're going to use these same supports in the slightest. To me, it is pretty much 99% impossible. Not impossible, let me rephrase this. I very highly doubt that they're going to take Phoebe's best in slot supports or really make Phoebe's kit revolve around resonance skill. You're still going to be able to use Gigi with your Jinhsi. I think you'll still be able to use Yinlin, like, whatever the case may be. I just don't see them being a one-to-one face-off, right? I just don't see it happening. I think she is probably going to use Spectral Rover to inflict a bunch of frazzle, and then you just attack with her to keep it at 10 to make life easier. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be a situation where we have power creep, man. And I saw some people discussing this and kind of worried about it, and I don't think you should be worried. I don't think Jinxi's going anywhere in the meta for fuck's sakes. I mean, Gion is safe right now. Gion is still in the meta. And Gion is clearing, and he's doing great clears, even without Q-Long canceling, right? So it's like, when people talk about the power creep, I think Wu was in a very unique situation. And I wouldn't stress about Jinxie. I wouldn't stress about Phoebe. I think you're good. I think it's pretty safe to say that is not going to be the case. Different play styles, most likely different affinities and stuff. So I think we're big chilling, man. And I think this is honestly just a positive for the game because it just makes the units feel more special, right? I would prefer that if they're releasing limited units under the same exact archetype of element, that they all specialize in something completely different. Maybe one day we get a Spectro DPS a year down the line or 2 years down the line that goes off of resident skill damage and doesn't need coordinated attacks. And if they could do similar damage to Jinxie, or even a little bit more, then yeah, for sure, that's better because you don't need the coordinated strikes, right? I'm sure that will happen, but I don't think that's happening now. I think it's way too soon for that. And even with Brant, I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I don't think Brant is power creeping Cheng-Li if Brant's a main DPS or whatever the case may be. I actually think Brant's going to be a support for Cheng-Li, but yeah, so I just want to kind of calm people, like everyone saying like, power creep. Like, no, this is not Genshin and this is not HSR. It's not. Let the game cook. The Koro is doing a good job so far, and they've done a good job managing everything and really making everyone and everything feel special. I could be 1000% wrong, maybe come Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever it is, but I don't think I am. I'm very, very confident in the fact that Phoebe will most likely be running with Spectral Rover as their best in slot on both of them with that new set, and then you throw Varina, Shorekeeper, Baiji, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think they're going to share the same teammates at all. I really don't. They're definitely not going to be using Gigi because I 1000% down to be Resident Skill, like I said before. Like, maybe if it's based off of Resonance Liberation, I could see maybe like the idea for Yinlin, but even then, I think that's a stretch. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think with her, they're really trying to drive home the Spectral Frazzle buff, like DOT. They're doing the exact opposite of Honky Star Rail right now, where they're actually making their DOT worth it. So yeah, just a little information not information, I guess I would say my own thought process about power creep. I think it's too soon. So if you're still on the fence, you're like, Jinxie, if I got her, should I build her, or what's the case? Yeah, 1000%. You got 3 days left. To pull Jinxie. She's still a valid unit, man. She's still a valid unit. Yon Wu is free, and it's worth it, man. So that being said, I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.